All right, everybody, welcome to the Metal Block episode number 34. We're so excited. 34 episodes in. We wouldn't have thought it back at the pilot episode, Brando and I talking about some pizza death on our drive home from work, but here we are, and once again, just having a great time, continuing the trend of an interview. And we've got a great interview set up for you today. We're really excited to get started with that. First off, go check out social media: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, all of those. And don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube. It's actually something I've never said on an episode before. So there it is.
Do it,
And
damn it.
I'm like, am I a sellout? I'm a sellout. That's
Yeah, you're a
exactly what just
sellout.
happened.
Jeez.
Felt
I
like
quit.
it just for a second. I actually always feel like it doing these plugs, and it's so silly. I know that it's just something you do, but every time I'm saying it, I'm always like, it's like I'm begging you to come check it out. But here's the thing: you're gonna like it, so come check it out. And
I beg you to come like it, please.
Brandon's like, we will pay you. So great, everybody! So happy to have you with us. Let us know what you want to see. Give us some ideas, what we want to talk about. We'd love to do it. But for today, really excited. We have Invizij with us. Everybody, they are a band that kind of a progressive metal band, I think is where we would go with this. And very, very, very talented musicians. And we've got Dan with us, and he's from down in the Houston area. Dan, why don't you
Yo,
say hi to everybody?
how's it going, everybody? This is Dan from Invizij. How you doing? I play bass.
Yes, he plays it very well.
Thank you.
Very good. Very awesome.
Thanks, man.
You uh I saw you doing some stuff online. There was like, did you have a video that you put out of you playing some bass stuff?
Yeah. Well, the bass solo from one of the songs. There's a
That's
video.
what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was really fun to watch.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good bass stuff. So everybody check out that bass work. And then we've also got Steven with us. And Steven, he puts together a lot of his own nice touches to the Invizij music. So Steven, why don't you say what's up and let everybody know what you do?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm primarily guitar with Invizij, but composition, drum programming, a lot of the extraneous stuff is coming from this room right here. So, yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah, very awesome stuff. We're so happy to have you guys with us. Thank you for taking the time
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
just to come and chat with us. And well, we're gonna get it started. Brando, he's gonna get some questions going so everybody can get to know you, and we'll just chit chat back and forth wherever you guys want to take the convo.
Okay.
Beautiful. Love it.
Sweet. Dan, Steven, what's up? Thanks for being here.
Wow.
Excited to talk to you for a little bit. Let's start with Steven. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history and how you got into metal? And then Dan can follow it up after you're finished with just kind of get to know you guys, your journey
Sure.
into metal.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, my dad, like many of us, was a lot of 60s, 70s prog rock. So early on, you listen to a lot of Yes and Jethro Tull and Steely Dan, and of course, Floyd and all those guys. And so music was always, around me. My dad was a big music lover. He's a guitar player himself, more acoustic, he'd break it out, do some campfire tunes, now and then. I was always very enamored with that. Of course, nothing like seeing your old man, do something fun and interesting and different. So, guitar was always kind of on my brain. And I remember one night sneaking into his guitar case when he wasn't around, and he probably would miss because it was his cherished, instrument. But I just fiddled around and started plucking away at the strings, try to replicate the stuff he did. And I was probably around 14 years old. That's when I started playing guitar. But I also a musicians. My sister's a music therapist. She started on trumpet. We had a harp in our home for a period of time. She had on loan just for some musical stuff. She's actively works as a music therapist. And, so it's a lot of, musical bone in the family, if you will. But I hit that right age, 14, 15. One of my buddies came up to visit. He was living in Florida, and he came back for a summer. He's actually the one that does all of our artwork and our graphic Invizij. He's kind of the silent third member of the band. But he got really into the punk scene down in Florida. He was in a ska band, and he was into like a lot of punk and Anti-Flag and all these kind of old old new age wave at the time punk bands. He came up when 15 years old, shooting the shit and getting into booze and stuff, that we shouldn't have been doing. And he shot Terra for the first time ever. And we're stomping around the neighborhood. It was one of my first times ever, hearing this just type of music and being with an old buddy of mine and stomping around with our testosterone thumping at age 15. And like, that was it. Pantera was that was the band that kicked it off for me.
Same here, dude.
Yeah. And so, once I picked up the guitar, I realized that, I had a knack for it. Felt pretty good, pretty natural. And you see guys like Dimebag and they're shredding. And then I just went down the wormhole. It was like early YouTube days. And I'd watch bits from Yngwie Malmsteen, instructional DVDs and Paul Gilbert and John Petrucci and all those guys. So I just really nerded out on these, those instructional DVD sets from those like 80s, shred guys. And that's really where it took off for me. I was just enamored in this little rabbit hole of I don't know, just shred heads of that era. And for, the early years of my playing, it was all about just replicating that, right? Like how do I do that? And obviously you progress as a player and taste change and you get exposed to different stuff and there's a natural progression there. But at heart, I'm a nerdy little, John Petrucci, Yngwie, Paul Gilbert, shredhead kid, lives in me. So, prog rock to Pantera to, all the classic shred guys, and that was it for me. So
That's awesome. Those are killer inspirations. So that's great.
So Brandon, I was gonna ask if that reminded you of anybody. That sounds a lot like us too.
Yeah.
Listen to Pantera, and then I remember totally geeking out on Petrucci and Yngwie, Steve Vai, Satriani, like all those guys. What was that tour that they used to do?
The G3.
The G, yeah.
Yeah, they still do
That's
it.
it.
I think they still do it.
Man, we used to sit and just watch videos, like the DVDs whenever we'd get those and we'd sit and watch those. So,
Mhm.
yeah, man, that's good inspirations. Can
Yeah,
definitely relate to all of that.
We used to nerd out on some of those drummers too, like that Buddy Rich Banquet. There was a video. It had like Steve Gadd, Vinny Colaiuta, and I can't remember who the third one was. It was crazy. They were all three playing together like in suits and ties.
Yeah.
And it was killer. It was like 30 minutes of just these legendary drummers jamming. So that's
Just
cool,
back
man.
and forth.
That's great taste in music, and those are some good bands to come up to, especially as a musician. That's awesome. So,
for sure.
Dan, how about you,
For
man?
sure.
How did you get into metal?
Into metal, man. I don't even remember how. My family wasn't musical. They're not really that musical. I have one grandfather. It was my mom's dad, and he played jazz bass and toured in the 60s, I think. So, I was 13, and for some reason, I got money for my birthday. I saved it all up. I got $140 that year, and I went on eBay and I bought a bass by the brand. The brand was Johnson. I have no idea what it is. It's some weird brand, but I bought that bass, and then I went out to his place, and he taught me a 12-bar blues one night. And from there, I don't know why I chose bass. I can't even go back that far, but and from there, I was just kind of into it. And then, let's see. So the first time, my favorite band in the world is Mudvayne. Ever, I love Mudvayne. So I first was introduced to them at the end of the movie Ghost Ship. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, but they played at the very end credits. It came out in like 2001, right around when Mudvayne's second album came out. And I heard Not Falling on the credits there. And I, obviously, if you're familiar with their music, Ryan Martini, their bass player, that bass pops in the mix. And I was just like, oh, that's my instrument. That's me. I don't hear that often. What is that? So I just was drawn to them. And he had the Warwick tone, that Warwick thumb bass. And from there, I've been Warwick basses. That's it. I've kind of thought about venturing off, but it's an unmistakable tone that Warwick brings to a mix. So And then from there, I've just been kind of cruising on just Mudvayne forever. Now, just I got some other influences, but man, I'm really like I don't have an eclectic mix. I don't have like a widespread background. I'm kind of weird. When I find something I like, I stick with just that. And it's very hard to cram new music into my tight, like listening window. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but that's how I operate. And I think I just used the words, it's very hard to cram something into my tight something. And I want to go ahead and strike that from the record.
We can edit that out. We can edit that out.
As long as we don't edit anything in, I think
don't
you're all
edit
right.
in. Don't edit in. Just cut.
Oh man, that was pretty funny. And Dan, you were talking about getting started with the bass,
Yeah.
and you know, with me, whenever I decided to start playing bass, I didn't know that that's really, you know, that wasn't what I thought I was going to end up being.
Yeah.
Was a bass player. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't even really know how the bass could bring that much value into the music yet. I did not understand it.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the moment was for me. I think I finally just met some guys that wanted to play that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, it was like, well, they need a bassist. So
that's the story
that's
I
what I'm
usually
gonna
hear,
do.
to be honest. It's you're with a group of friends and all the other instruments have been chosen already, or you want to get in on what they're doing, and they say, hey, we need a bass player, and you go, all right, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll do that, you know. And, you know, here's the thing, though. I did play guitar before, but I just never really felt like guitar took off for me. And so the need gave me the opportunity. Then afterwards, now, man, I listen to music all the time, and that's what I hear. I just hear bass. I hear bass. I hear bass.
Yep.
You know, and sometimes I have to back off to hear the rest of the instruments. But I know what you mean by, like, there's like a moment where you just decide.
Yeah, it was weird. I started watching DVDs of bands playing anything, even what my mom was watching, but I saw there was a longer instrument with larger strings and less of them. And that's really all I knew when I was 13 or 12. I was just like, okay. And then, it just kind of went from there. Again, there was no real point where I was like, yes, bass. Don't even know how it happened.
Yeah, it's just another guitar until you know what it is. You know?
And then you find out it's really versatile and really can bring a lot of dimension to music. And I think I bugged Steven a little bit about how much I wanted to be present in the mix, or at least our engineer. I'm like, hey man, go ahead and just a little bit more, but
hey man, could you bump that bass up?
Bump it up. Just bump it up.
No, it's fun. It's great for me because, you know, I played in a band for some time, you know, a full 5-piece metal band. I did that for years. And then I kind of split off, did my own solo thing. And it was right around that kind of revolution where it was like all these home artists, like gear, plugins, and technology became really accessible, and you started getting the Misha Mansours, right? Like you got the Chip Spanners. All these guys were able to kind of engineer this one-man band out of their home studio, and I did that for a long time, and then it actually kind of became a little isolating. I'm on an island trying to do it all, and you know, one mind can only do so much. I mean, you have those virtuosos out there who just, they're masterful, and they you know, put something together, and it's just crazy and complete and nasty. But linking up with Dan here recently and starting this project, it feels really good to have like a real bass player, you know, that's here with me working on the music, because I get to send stuff off, and I'm like, dude, have fun with it, like bring life to it, do your thing. And it's been a long time since I really had that dynamic present where I'm like working with a real bass player. Like, you know, now it's like you get a plug-in, or like, you know, I'll just pick along and I'll just parallel what the guitar's playing, because I'm a guitar player and that's what I do, man. I play, you know. So yeah, it's there's a difference, you know, when you're the real bass player, you know, that is sonically perceiving the music differently. Like you said, you're interfacing with the music differently, and it just, when you have a good bass player in a band, it brings a whole different life to everything, you know, guides the music and shapes it up. And that's been the coolest part. You know, for me, just working with a class bass player like Dan's been so sick for me, and a pleasant change of pace. So the old bass player I worked with was fucking awesome too. Don't get me wrong, but I was solo for a long time, just doing random stuff and on a little silo, and yeah, respect to the bass players. They don't get enough. So let's, we
that's for
have
sure.
one more moment to shout out for all the bass players here.
Oh yeah.
We're just gonna take a moment, Brandon. We're just gonna take a moment and be silent for all the bass players, real quick. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Good
Is
to
that
go.
it? Okay. Yeah. There we go.
Thank you.
Well, I was gonna say, Steven, you touched on those like just virtuoso guys that can like sit in a room and come up with some nasty, like awesome stuff, like just all around full thing. But it does make you wonder, like if they were to bring somebody else in, how much crazier could that be with somebody else's input and perception of what they're doing? Like yeah, they're great, but man, if they just had one more person giving them input, it could be that much better. Not that anything they're doing is
Yeah,
necessarily bad. That creative process with more than one mind perceiving things differently it goes a long way. So
yeah, and one thing, the whole world's kind of shifted to this remote environment. Like here we are doing a podcast with cameras up on the screen, and that's crazy. Like the fact that we can do this so seamlessly nowadays. I mean, it's it's an amazing thing. But I'm super adamant about like I'm trying to get Dan up here like quarterly almost, and like there's just something special. You get in a room and you reverberate energy and you do something that you just feel, with the instrument that it's just it's like having a conversation, there's something special about feeling that energy and bouncing ideas off another person, and it's this feedback loop and this play, and
Not to mention when you
that's half the joy of music.
You go out and do other things that aren't necessarily music related with that dude or with that band, a group of guys. You go get experiences and you kind of just vibe. You know what I mean? Like Steve and I, we went on hikes around Boston. We went and grabbed a bagel at this cool bagel place, and then you get back and you're refreshed. But because you went and did something together, that energy is brought back into where you're writing too. It's not, I could go over there and we can sit in that room 24 hours and it'd be great. But I think that going out and doing other stuff together, you guys know, you've been friends and been in bands together too. It's like, if you're writing with guys where you've done other stuff, it's just as important. We could all meet at the studio, sure, and it'd be magic. But I think there's more potential when you go do other things in life with them and then go back to the studio, Like we make sure to make time when I go to Boston. We go do other cool, fun shit, It's not all just part of it.
Man, that was always my favorite part about the band, was hanging out with my buddies.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the music was great. It was something we could all do together. And, I thought we did great. We had fun. We got to travel around and do a few shows here and there. And that was, something else too. I've got kids who still wear band shirts that we put out,
Nice.
Way back then. And so, but to just be able to hang out and build those memories, like that's why Brandon and I, after 12 years of him being in Houston, us being apart, we're still hanging out.
Yeah, man. It's funny. We were talking about. I think it's before we were actually rolling. We were talking about our hometown, which small population. There's like 15, 16,000 people, something like that. But we uniquely have really strong base of musicians, and we had a really cool metal scene. And if you took the number of metalheads in our population compared to others, a part of me thinks it's probably greater than average. We just had a really cool, tight knit group of just metalheads, and having that community and sharing the music with each other and just bonding over that, going to shows, and it's cool. Almost 20 years later, Dan, like here you and I are like rekindling this relationship and coming back, and we're bringing a bit of that nostalgia with us when we're writing the music and get together and doing this stuff, and it's
telling stories
cool,
about
man.
The characters in the hometown, things like that we both knew of, laughing about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got those.
Oh
yeah, we got those.
Yeah. Yeah, that leads into one of the questions we like to ask, and that is, about the metal scene where you guys are from. So you said you're from a small town on Lake Ontario, right? So where did all the shows go? Like, Did they come to your small town, or where's the closest place? Like where did you have to go to for some good
Syracuse, right?
shows?
Syracuse.
Yeah, the nearest like populous city, I guess, is Syracuse, New York.
Yeah.
And there's a venue there called the Lost Horizon. It's funny, I was talking about my dad, my inspiration for music and all this stuff. When he was my age or even younger, a college student, that was the place to go to then too. Like they had actually a lot of big acts, really cool acts. Like I think he did security for Floyd there, like in his 20s, and but it ended up turning later into just that was the metal spot. We had great acts, man. I mean, and we their coordinator, Scott Dixon, was the coordinator. I don't know if he's still doing it there, but he did it for a long time. But he was a total metalhead, and so he was helping all these local bands get on opening bills for, like 2011, my old band, we opened for Whitechapel and the Contortionist, and he really put on the local bands and helped bolster up the scene and give people opportunity and get them on with, at least relative to the scene, pretty good size acts. Yeah, and it's just a cool venue. Small, a little bit of a hole in the wall vibe, but it had this really intimate thing going on with it. That's kind of the big one. Otherwise, you end up, you go to like Albany, or you might maybe Rochester.
Yeah.
We did little stints, like little local tours. It's kind of like hop from, it's like Buffalo, Albany, Syracuse. You kind of work little towns on the way in
And
between.
they're all at least 2 hours. Well, our town to Syracuse isn't, but all the rest of them, Albany, Buffalo, they're all 2 hours, right, from each other.
Yeah, 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. So it's a big spread.
Yeah. We did facilitate some local shows in Oswego, which was cool, and it was like we had a strong hardcore scene too as well.
Hardcore.
I wasn't as into it. I was this nerdy metal shred guy. Like I was all about like the shredding, and then the hardcore's about the scene, the brotherhood, and the image, and the music too, of
and the
course.
two-step.
Yeah. But it's cool. So we had like an old KFC and like the Elks clubs, like the lodges. Like we put on shows at like the Moose Lodge. Like these are like banquet halls, People would have like
Knights
little
of Columbus,
receptions in there. The Knights of Columbus. Yeah, so like there were hardcore shows there, like sometimes like every weekend. And there actually, I think there's some pretty cool hardcore bands out of the Syracuse region. Earth Crisis was based out of Syracuse.
Dude, who was who's the big 80s metal band from Oswego?
Great White?
No.
Oh, Anthrax.
Yeah.
Joey, yeah, so
or one of them.
Joey Belladonna, the singer of Anthrax, is from Oswego, New York. His actual name is Bellardine, was his last name. It's an Oswego name, and Belladonna, I guess, was a better stage name. He just slightly changed the end. That's the thing. But yeah. No, having a singer of Anthrax come from our hometown, this tiny little port city, that definitely, I think, had an influence too, right? Like people felt a connection to the scene.
That's
I mean, they're a big four metal band. I mean, they're up there. So, yeah,
for sure. Put on a hell of a show too.
Oh yeah, and he came back with a vengeance, man. The last record they did, like he sounded awesome coming back in Anthrax, and he's getting up there in age and having an organic instrument, your vocals, man. It's when you see metal guys come back and kill it like that, it's cool.
Wasn't that post-COVID? Wasn't that post-COVID release though?
It may have been. I'm trying to think. It might have been right before, actually.
But it was I feel like it was right at that time or something. And anyway, I have this small theory that like every band just got better. Around COVID time, it's like people could just sit around and practice and stuff. Bands started touring again that weren't touring. Bands started writing music again that weren't writing music. I mean, it was just crazy. And it's still
2022. Are you talking about the XL album?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2022.
So it was right after. Yeah, just right.
Wow.
Yeah. Put them in a hyperbolic time chamber, and then that's what you get.
Yeah, I don't really know what it is about that, but a lot. Even Exodus, I feel like, has put out some really solid stuff. They put out something here after COVID, and I was like, man, they're sounding great.
Hell yeah.
Make you forget they're from the 80s.
Yeah. Actually, I think we played a show with Exodus way around. Must have been that 2011.
That'd be something, man. I'm a huge Exodus fan. I like that thrash metal.
2011. We played with Skeleton Witch. This is my old band, Perpetual Burn. You know, Jason Becker was an homage to Jason Becker. We played with Skeleton Witch. I think Exodus was on that bill. I may be conflating shows, but that was cool. Skeleton Witch was nasty too. I think that was in Albany. That was yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
I got a little bit of that thrash blood in me. I was a big Testament guy too. I really liked Testament back in the day, like when I was Alex Golnick, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I went to that final Slayer like farewell tour in 2018, and it had Anthrax and Testament on it. Like that was a killer show.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's only so many of these like real rock stars left, man. You know, like I was just talking about this the other day with some of my buddies. You know, we're hanging on to our last few real rock stars these days.
It's hard. It's too hard to be a rock star now, man.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
All right, Brando.
Tell us a little bit about Invizij. Like, where did this come from? Tell us how Invizij got started, how you guys came together.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll lead a little bit, Dan. I think we're both gonna have two different perspectives on this, which will be interesting. So like I said, I played in a band for a handful of years. I think that ended like 2012 or something like that. And I went and did a little solo stuff for a while. And then fast forward, I mean, more than 10 years, I was relatively inactive. I mean, I was like writing music all the time. Like I said, I was kind of siloed, and I was out pursuing a professional career, and I actually went through a bunch of medical stuff that influenced my playing. It made it difficult for me, and COVID hit, man, and it's just strikes a chord, and you think about your priorities and how you're living your life and how you're interfacing with the world around you. And I was like, man, I can't sit around. I got a hard drive with like hundreds of songs on here. I got to do something. So I just started posting just random videos, just me like, here's a riff, man. Here's a little snippet of a song I loved, and just trying to get the momentum again and be posting and be active on social media and just be playing again. And Dan actually just pinged me. I dropped a few videos sequentially, and he slid into my DMs as they do these days. And he gave me that extra kick. He was just like, dude, what you're doing is sick. I haven't talked to you in a while. Like, what's up, man? Like, we should work on something. And the initial proposal from Dan really was, I got a bunch of bass material that's been sitting around. I should do something with it. I'd love to have you produce a bass album for me. And I'm like, you know what? That's great. Like, I don't have to write music. I get to wear a producer cap. I can wiggle it in. I'm busy, but so like a little left in the middle and like something like a different angle to come in and get back into the music thing. And he set something over. I'm like, well, it'd be cool if we did this. And he's like, why don't you lay a little guitar down on that? Then you could, and then all of a sudden we're already just co-writing music. I got wrapped right in, and that's my nature to just like. Yeah, I'm not like put 10% in, I'm like I'm 0 or I'm 110%. There's no in between. And like I said, I was missing a counterpart, and then Dan kind of came in and gave me this extra boost and kind of reinvigorated my excitement about music. And so a lot of this is kind of new, like stuff that we're just kind of hashing out together with our ideas and things we're talking about, what's it inspiring. And then actually Clandestine, the intro riff to Clandestine It's Power, it's our second single that just dropped recently. I wrote that riff like 11 years ago or something like that. And I just gave Dan my like catalog of like a Dropbox folder with like literally hundreds of just like random riffs that I just dumped from a hard drive over 10, 15 years. He's like, yeah, that riff's sick. We should just rework that. So it's, for me, it's like, it's this cool reimagining of old stuff that's got a new life, and then our minds coming back together as these more mature people and musicians and see what comes of it. So it's been a super cool. From my perspective, that's how it went for me. But obviously, I'd love to hear stuff because he came in. So to hear the other side of the story, I'm interested to hear the other side of the story from Dan actually. So
all right, yeah, Dan, do you concur with this story?
I concur, but for me, it goes a little bit further back, and I'm not going to bore you guys with a giant story about it. But basically, it goes like he was saying. In our hometown, there was a lot of metalheads, but I feel like Steven and I were in different pockets of the metalheads. I associated with other musicians and kind of had my own thing, and he was with his metal pocket, if so to speak. So, but I had always heard he had a solo. You mind if I say your solo project? It doesn't matter, right? Your old one.
Go for it.
Okay,
It's, all,
yeah.
it's out on SoundCloud. It's out there.
SoundCloud, but the shit is insane.
Yeah.
So to me, I just listened. It was called Terrapulse, and he was putting it out for, I don't know, the last 12 years before COVID or 10 years before COVID. And I was like, why am I not working with this guy? He's hanging out at my house, hanging out with my younger brother, and we're, kind of going to parties and seeing each other at parties in town and things like that. But I was like, why are we not doing music together? So that's when I slid into his DMs. And I'll admit at the time I was a little horny, but whatever. That didn't really influence it too much. But, so I pinged him on there and I said, hey, this riff is sick. I love that video. Let's finally just do it. But he's right, though. I did send him stuff. Have you guys ever heard the bass player Evan Brewer? He was in the Faceless for a while. He had an incredible solo bass album and then followed it up with an album where he recruited other musicians, but the bass is like the star center of the music. And I was like, I want to do something like that. So that's when I reached out to him and I was like, okay, I know you have incredible skills when it comes to producing and composing and mixing. Can you do this for me? I don't want to do it. And I need your input and some drums and things like that. But then, quickly was like, well, you know what? You have a guitar. You have the means to just lay a guitar riff over double what I'm playing. Let's see where it goes. And then it snowballed into this. We're like, why don't we just try something and just do it from Houston to Boston and make it work? And I would say, we got 2 songs out. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
For now. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're 2 great songs.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
So the names are eluding me right now. They're a little long. I really like the Green Lion Devouring the Sun. That one is killer. And then your other one was, which is also very good, Clandestine Dance of Power, right? And for all of our listeners or viewers, those are on all the streaming platforms. Right? Like I've been checking it out on Apple Music. I think Zoomy's using YouTube Music, and I know we've seen it on Spotify. So, I mean, what you guys are doing is awesome. So, I'm looking forward to hearing some more songs from you guys. So, do you have more in the bag right now? Like, you got some stuff that you're going to be putting out soon?
Not completed. I say we got the next one's coming along. What are we, 75% done with the next one?
Yeah. We've got a framework. I know it's an instrumental. It's going to be predominantly an instrumental album. But there is there's some thematicism. There's a bit of a kind of storytelling to it. So fundamentally, the idea is to have maybe 6 or 7 full, heavy tracks like Green Lion and Clandestine Dance of Power. And then in between, there's these bridging kind of interlude sections. We may actually do some like voice narrative type stuff that's doing some storytelling, and some more noodly, less structured guitar and bass type stuff to kind of showcase, our capabilities. So the target right now, we've got titles, we've got lengths in mind, we've got ways to bridge song to song. I think it's like 12. It's either going to be like 11 or 12 tracks on the whole album. I think 6 or 7 of them are about, they're in that 50 to 75% complete range. But we're kind of operating under we're just gonna drop shit as we go. Like we don't want to wait for shit. Like we got something done, just send it. We got something done, send it.
But at the same point, we're not rushing ourselves either. We don't have any deadlines or anything like that. We're taking it easy. I mean, we both got other stuff going on and we're far away, and Dropbox and emails and texts is kind of it's tough, it's tough to really make stuff work. So
it is. And I mean, I think it's great taking your time, because that's how you're going to really fine tune it and get what you really want out of it. If you set a deadline on yourself and rush it, you're probably not going to be as satisfied with the final outcome. So, I mean, I think it's great you guys are taking your time and really putting your full effort into each song and doing it that way. I think that's really cool. So
Yeah.
just my two
Yeah,
cents
and
on
I think I burned myself out. Yeah, I burned myself out in the past too, like getting stressed about deadlines and making shit happen and having it really feel like work. And, for me, it kind of sucks a lot of the joy out of it. Kind of the fun about this project is we don't have to do anything with it. It's just like we're reconnecting with this kind of nostalgic place, as musicians, revisiting that and seeing what comes of it. And it's just kind of a little journey for us. And it's low pressure. I mean, we want to take it seriously. We take a lot of pride in the music we're writing. We have a grand vision for what the album looks like, and is shaping up really nicely. But at the same time, we're not like we're going to drive ourselves into the ground, like trying to force something out. We're just letting it flow naturally, and it feels really good. It's been a really rewarding process. And to me, it's been the most enjoyable in terms of just musical uh, projects that I've worked on. It's been the best feeling, most natural, most comfortable. So we're just sitting on that.
That's big. It's real easy for personalities to not mesh in a band, and when, especially in the writing phase, not everybody wants to move as quickly as the other guys, or they want to move slower, and nobody, and even worse, nobody's understanding of everyone's own process, whereas we try to say, you just text me straight up, hey man, I really haven't been feeling like I want to play guitar in the past 3-4 days, so yeah, I've been dead silent, radio silent, and I just go, yeah, no problem, man, like, of course, do what you got to do. So that process has been good, because in the past, I'm sure we've all been part of bands where there's a personality in there where sometimes it's advantageous because you get one guy who kind of corrals and keeps everybody moving, but usually everybody kind of just wants to go at their own pace. It helps the music. It helps everybody stay sane, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a creative process. There's no right or wrong way. It comes to you in waves, and even the greatest of the greats, they got writer's block, and they go through phases of feelings and emotion and motivation. Yeah, we're just not going to let ourselves, succumb to any of the pressure, and just let it happen, which is it's working. We got 2 songs in a handful of months, so
Good for
Yeah,
you.
and the technology we have now really like plays into being able to do that. Like I was
Oh yeah.
thinking back to, just what, 10 years ago, it was like the software and stuff that we have now, it didn't exist. And I know when Zoomy and I were really doing stuff, I mean, that was like 16, 17 years ago now, something like that. Like it's been a long time, we had to always jam in person and have your shit ready to go to a studio, pay for studio time to record 3 songs, and hope you had enough money to do enough takes that comes out all right, before you
Yeah.
can.
Or to edit, like hopefully you could do it in the least amount of takes so you could use more time to like edit and
Yeah.
master, because it would come down to like you would use up all your time doing the recording process, and then you would get like no time to do any kind of mastering.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't sound great, and so you're like, man, we really played it great, but I'm just not happy with the quality. Man,
It's tough.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. But that all is like a product of people being rushed, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Now, we do need to know how to play our stuff, but at the same time, like the pressure of a studio too changes everything.
Oh God. And you get a guy
For
who's
sure.
unprepared going to a studio session. That's the worst.
Oh, it's like the double whammy,
worst.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Luckily, we were usually pretty prepared, but there'd just be some times where somebody's like, I just can't get this right now.
Yeah.
We gotta move on to something else, So, and it's just kind of the stresses of it, and everybody's just sitting there like,
You only take so much.
and they're
on the-
yeah, they're really not,
Yeah.
but you feel it because you feel like, oh, this is on me right now. I got to keep this thing moving, And so I
Or a
remember
guy
having
who
a
is
few
prepared and he
moments.
gets camera shy in the studio and he just fucks
Yeah,
up every
that's-
take. It's like, dude,
That's
really?
and that happens too,
Yep.
That totally happens.
Yeah.
Some people are like amazing whenever you put them in front
Yeah.
of a microphone and people, and then you get them, sitting down in the studio and they like have
He
problems.
fucks
And
up repeatedly.
then there's people that are on the other side of that as well. People who like do great in the studio, but you put them up in front of a mic and people, and they're just like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you mentioned, Stephen, whenever you were talking about the music and what you guys have been writing, um, you mentioned kind of a story that it tells. And I was going to actually bring that up and say that whenever I listen to the stuff, the music and both of those tracks, I kind of felt like I was in a play, not like a movie, a play. I felt like I was getting like atmosphere feelings, and it was like weird because I almost thought, like how black metal could be atmospheric at times. I was like, I kind of get a feeling of that in here, even though what I'm listening to is not black metal. And so it was just really neat to hear kind of like different influences come in. And I totally understand the storytelling. Maybe not the exact story you're telling, but I can understand that there's a story to tell through these songs. So well done with that, and good way to describe that process too, as you were talking just a second ago.
Dude, that's a great
Yeah.
compliment. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
that means a lot.
Yeah.
Because this music, is different for me, even in the sensory. I talked about my roots being shreddy, virtuoso guys, and if you listen to any of my solo stuff, it's floating around there somewhere. The Terrapole stuff, it's super wanky, like just shred, chaos, riff after riff, just mania, and this is just coming from a way different place. I've really dialed back, at least on the guitar front. I actually consciously kind of bringing some of the complexity back and just optimizing for texture and optimizing for a feeling of thematicism, and movements. And so ideally when the album's all tidied up, packaged, and we put a bow on it, it does feel like there are movements and it's telling a story. And we want it to take you somewhere. We want it to evoke feelings and have different messages that take it. And I'm sure, maybe I'm just, sounding like a nut job. I think everybody has somewhat of that vision when you're making music. Of course, you want it to make you feel, it evokes feelings and brings you somewhere. But you'll notice it's not conventional songwriting, right? I mean, it's not A B, right? Like, most of the songs are 2.5, 3 minutes, and they may have some repeating sections, but they may not. And it's more about, it's just starts here and it's going to end up here, and there are movements that are gonna get you there, and that's kind of the mindset. As I'm approaching writing, it's actually quite a departure from what I normally do, I guess. And it is to try to achieve something that's suitable for what is Invizij, which is more about these textures and the soundscape and these movements that are telling somewhat of a story. So really cool comment from you, man. That was yeah, I appreciate the comment.
Definitely
and
the
observation.
observation that I gathered listening to it, and it was a lot of fun to think to myself like, where is this music at right now? Like thinking of where I'm at right now, in this setting while I'm listening to this music. So I really encourage people to check out the tracks just to, I don't know, get a feel for what it might be telling them.
There you go.
Cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Big time.
Thanks.
Big time.
definitely.
Oh yeah. So I know we touched on, you guys do a lot of the production and everything yourselves, right? So you don't go to a studio, right? Um, Zoomy and I are, I don't know, Zoomy is more than I am. I'm starting to get into it, but like gearheads, really, right? So I know there's a lot of musicians out there in the metal community and stuff. So for those listeners and for Zoomy and for me, because I'm starting to get into it more, what recording software and stuff like do you guys like to use? And then tell us a little bit. I know, Dan, you mentioned the Warwick stuff, but like love to hear about like what cabinet you like. And then Steven, what kind of guitars and stuff are you guys, what do you lean towards? What are your favorites?
Cool. Uh, Dan and I are gonna have probably very different answers here as
Yeah.
well.
Good.
I've been doing I've been yeah, good, yeah, that is good for you. um, so I've been running Pro Tools since I can remember. Man, that's just the DAW. It's industry standard, I guess. Kind of has been for a long time. So when it comes to actually, recording and production, I kind of bear the brunt of most of that. I actually really enjoy that process. There's kind of there's a technicality to it, and a different kind of science to dialing in sounds, tweaking EQs, learn all the tools, and I love this shit. I do it for work, and it's music. Like, I like to do very technical things. So I always gravitated towards the audio engineering aspect of it. I'm certainly not a pro, but I've over 15 years of just having kind of as a survival skill, having to do it. And I was in my old band. It was like somebody had to do it. So we just sat in the basement. We just figured stuff out as we went. And it's been an evolution. So yeah, I unfortunately never really had the like super high end tube amps and whatever. In the background, this is my first amp, and I still run it to this day. It's an old 100-watt Marshall with just a single 12 in it, solid state, and it happens to get some great tones out of it, despite being a whatever amp. I mean, it's a Marshall, which they're renowned for a reason. But I upgraded to an Axe FX once that was kind of all the rage, and must have been probably 2010, 2009, 2010. I got the first Axe FX Ultra. That was that kind of the dawn of the, the powerful solid state, and electronic tools that could assist us in generating tones that were, fairly authentic to tube amps and analog gear, but with this great flexibility to manipulate sounds on the fly. And so I love that shit. But I'm a total, like all the stuff on the album so far, and we do a lot of the neural DSP plugins. I know it's like everybody's doing, but there's a reason, right? It's like so quick, plug and play. They're very versatile. The technology has come so far. You can dial in killer tones. So I do all the pre-production, mixing, mastering, and stuff for our music. And then when it's time to actually shape up, we've been working with Adam Bentley. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Arch Echo is his primary musical endeavor. I know he's involved in a few other projects, but he's been doing a lot of mixing and mastering for, like, he does the Omnific, I believe, which they're like an all bass metal band, or like bass and drums. Like, I don't think they have a guitar player. It's like just nasty, like genty prog bass stuff. And that was a big draw for me. I'm like, Dan's got this cool bass sound, this more writing music that for me is a lot more bass centric. So it's another reason to go with him. But I love his work with Arch Echo too.
Yeah, you've heard enough of me ranting about nerdy gear for the time being. So
Not at all.
Before though, Dan, if since you are back, Steven, so like you
yeah,
talk about using a lot of the basically, your Pro Tool plugins during your mastering process. So whenever you're recording, are you recording without any effects at all, just direct in, clean on the guitar? Or do you have something
no,
on the
no, yeah.
guitar?
So with just low latency, I'll run whatever plugin on the side. Get your buffer rate as low as you can to minimize latency, and make sure I have some feedback. As I'm playing, so that I can, because when you run something into an instrument and then you run that signal through a chain of effects, there are subtleties to the way that you do something, right? Like any distortion or any reverb or any effect. It's going to pick up on that input and resonate and do different little things that are nuanced. DI would be a nightmare for me. I gotta have that. I gotta have that feedback. I think if I was in a better, isolated, like true studio environment, I wasn't in this little, cape ceiling room in a house in, uh, suburban part of Boston here. I'd probably be more apt to. I'd love to have a bunch of tube amps and rooms where I could great mics and I could really get them in a nice isolated environment and stuff. But being able to come back and just tweak tones as you go and mix to your ear and move dials on amps and a plug-in, and that's just a really unique. Well, it's not unique anymore. Anybody can, less than $100, you can go get a sick plug-in and plug and play, which is great. And I've really just opted for convenience at this point. Like, it sounds really good, and it's not that expensive, and it's just super versatile and easy to tweak as you go. And I think a lot of musicians have kind of ended up in that pocket. I'm sure we still got our analog gear guys and our amp heads that are, that maybe never want to depart and go the total electronic route. But you get a nice clean signal in, man, and take advantage of our technology. It's, I don't know, the convenience is good enough for me. But as far as instruments go, I mean, that's another story. I could talk about that all day. Dan's a Warwick guy. I've been running the Abasi Lorana 7 on most of this stuff. And I just copped a comparison guitar, which I've wanted since literally I was like just starting to play guitar. If you're not familiar with comparison, they're just Japanese precision shred machine. It's a 6-string actually. But I remember seeing Chris Ammett of Arch Enemy back in the day. He was shredding on that thing. And then Michael Romeo from Symphony X started running them. And it's cool. So I just picked up this new guitar, and we'll see what comes out of it in the future writing, because it's kind of re-inspiring me to play that way again. Because I'm like, part of the reason I got it was to, like, I don't know, cater to this part of me, like the kid in me that like wanted that guitar, and I was listening to those guys, the Chris Ammons and the Petrucci's and these shred guys. And so now all of a sudden I'm playing a little different. It's kind of inspiring me to go a little bit back to my roots. So I'm writing some stuff now we'll see. It may or may not end up in the Invizij catalog. Just the nature of it isn't exactly the same. But I got a feeling some of it's gonna wiggle its way in as I'm working on stuff. But
That's cool. I like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's funny how an instrument can do that, though. You get a new instrument in your hands, and it just inspires you to play and do different things. And
that's why people who don't play music, they don't understand why you need another instrument.
Yeah. Can you tell that to my wife?
I'll say, I can totally relate to that, because for Father's Day this year, I bought myself a Solar, one of their X guitars.
Oh yeah.
Dude, and that inspired me to start doing some stuff too, and I've been playing a little differently. Like, I bought a 7-string, and I was like,
nice.
"Oh, this is fun!" Like, some different stuff started coming out, so I can totally relate with that. Just you just get one instrument, and it just kind of changes the way you think about it, and then just like the way it feels changes the way you play, and it's cool. It's cool what it can do to help inspire your creativity.
Definitely.
And Steven, I told my wife, I said, steal a man's wallet and he'll go hungry for a week. Teach him to play music and buy instruments, and he'll be poor forever.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for any husbands, wives out there.
So buckle up.
not-
We're poor forever.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Confirmed.
Man, tell us about your bass rig, man. We know you like Warwick. What else you got?
Yeah, but I'm such a purist. I'm not a gearhead at all. So I got to harp about the Warwick because I love these guys so much. But when I got my Warwick, I was really more about tone woods than I was about gear. Like, whatever made the guitar was why I picked the woods. And I have 2 custom shop Warwick thumb basses, and the first one, it's a Bubinga body is the wood. Bubinga, it's very tight grain, super heavy. The bass is like 19 pounds. So I would tour with that thing. I'd have just incredible shoulder and neck problems from hanging that thing off my body. But anyway, so the tone woods were super important to me, and I'm such a purist. I don't run any effects or anything like that. When Steven and I are sending off our mix to our engineer, I always leave a note, please don't put a lot of distortion on it. I know we're in that progressive metal genre, so to speak, and there's a lot of guys running the distorted basses, but I really want to have that pure tone of the Warwick and all those tone woods. I want the woods to pop through. And the incredible thing is, I also, for strings, I think it matters quite a bit, is I use D'Addario Pro Steels, which have a steel core and a steel wind. They're super bright, super fucking bright. Active pickups on the Warwick, bright strings. This thing is going to cut through any mix the minute I pop a string. So that's kind of my thing. I want people to be like, oh, that's Dan. I recognize that type of playing. But there's other bands I was with where I remember the lead singer. It was a project that I created with 2 guys in Boulder, Colorado. And the lead singer commented, he said the entire first album it sounds the way it does because of Dan's bass playing. And I was like, it was a real compliment for me, but that's what I like that. I like to have my bass playing show through because, like I said before, it's a really versatile instrument. So what I do is I plug into my extremely high-tech Scarlett 2i Focusrite right here that was $150, and I go DI into that thing and I send it. I get the cleanest signal I can. I don't do anything else to it, and I send it to Steve and I go, dude, do what you got to do. Let the sound of the bass shine through. I'm very simple when it comes to that. I don't have any gear myself. I have my 2 basses, DI, and I haven't purchased a piece of gear. I have no rack, mount, anything, nothing. Just my right hand, just the techniques I learned with this and the sound of the wood, really.
Yeah, I'll say the
still
DIs
talking about
coming in
bass?
from that thing are.
What's that?
So we're still talking about bass. Said your right hand and the sound of wood.
The right hand technique.
Yeah.
If I recall, Dan, I think you go lefty on that, right? You go goofy.
I go lefty,
Okay.
and,
Oh yeah.
and I upside
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
A little stalefish. Yeah. Yeah.
Upside
All
down.
right, sorry. Sometimes I can't help myself. I had to go there.
Nah, that's good, man. No, that's good.
No, I will say the DIs that come in from the Warwick are they're gnarly, man. They have this throaty, crazy attack to it. And I gotta say, on the mixing front for Invizij, that Adam Bentley, man, he's the one that's done the mixing mastering these tracks. Most of the guitars and the synths and pretty much everything except the bass. A lot of my tones and primary mixing will stay pretty true to what I've done, and Adam, finds a good way of using his unbiased ear to get them in the pocket and sit, better where they're supposed to. But he's done a really stand-up job on the bass because it's not my territory, man. I've always had such a hard time mixing bass, and like I said, Adam's done this. I think he came right off the Omnific record when he went in and did our second single. And I'm like, perfect, man. He just mixed like a whole bass album, it sounds nasty. So he did.
Clandestine, one of the main things too, and I'm sure you guys hear it, that opening riff that kind of drones for about a minute or so of the song. Every high note, is I wanted Adam to blend that because I'm popping that note, and to get that to blend and cut, but also have Steven's guitar shine through, and that perfect blend. So every high note on that riff, you hear that same really consistent cut throat noise. It's something else, it really is, and it's tough to do. So hats off to Adam too to mix a bass that well. So
Yeah, the mix and the production on there it's so clear. Like, and I feel like you can hear everything super clean.
Yeah.
Like it's very well done. So hats off to you guys for your work on it, and then Adam, who you send it to. Like, just the whole product comes together beautifully. So I just wanted to say that the sound and the production on there, the mix it's really good. It's top tier for sure.
it's clear and punchy. I love
Yeah.
it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. We take a lot of pride in it. We're really happy with how it's
Thanks.
sounding. So, yeah.
You should, because that's
It
hard to
adds
do.
to the journey.
Yeah.
It adds to the journey. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
I think, Zoomy and I have been playing around with Studio One, right? And every time I get it out, because I don't do it often, I got to re-look up YouTube videos on how to do anything on there, like even to get it to record something. So, like, seriously, my hat's off to you guys with messing with the whole studio programming stuff and doing your own production and things like that. I think that's awesome. I wish I could do it. I don't have the patience.
I wish I knew too. Shit, I don't know. I have no idea how to do it. I just send my bass parts. I don't know what happens after that.
I got you,
That's
Dan.
so
Don't
funny.
worry.
Yeah, thank you.
I got you.
Dan, I know exactly though what you're talking about not putting any effects or anything on bass.
Yeah.
I recently got a pedal for my bass, and this is actually a really funny story, I think. This will tell you how much I use effects or any sort of add-ons, because I'm always just like, I did used to have an amp, and so I used to run out of an SWR amp, and I had an Ampeg B2R head, and those did just fine, and I could have taken those in any concert or arena or non-arena,
Yeah.
and it would have worked. I would have never needed anything else. After I kind of quit playing, I basically downsized, and I started really just running stuff out of a little Spark amp.
Mm-hmm.
Is really what most of my playing is. But I never still did not put any effects on it or anything, and I like the Spark just because I could play guitar through it.
What I did,
But
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say I got a pedal recently.
Okay.
And here's the funny story. I brought it home. I got everything all set up. Couldn't get it to turn on.
Really?
And I was like messing with everything. Couldn't get it to turn on. I even went up to Guitar Center. I know. I went up there and I said, "Hey guys, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I can't get this to turn on." So the guy showed me where some of their other cables, like basically power cables are, and I was plugging them in, and I still couldn't get it to turn on. The guy was standing right there with me.
Yeah, that's why pedals are just
so
hunks of trash.
I took it back. They plugged it right in front of me, and it lit right up.
That's a sign. Never use a pedal, Zoomy. Don't do it. They're not for you.
I took it and I was like, I'm gonna go take this home and try again.
Did it work after that?
I haven't gotten to plug it back in. That was just recently. Like that was like today I got it back home.
Oh, okay.
I know.
One
But
thing
anyway, funny story is that I obviously, is like 41 years old now, and I couldn't even figure out how to turn it on. It's just a pedal.
Speaking of gear though, I will say before I had an amp. I'm Ampeg. I love Ampeg. You mentioned Ampeg too. I had the refrigerator. I had the 8x10 cab, and then I had the SVT7 head, which was a solid state head. And that one on a record on a different band in the studio, I had the refrigerator amp, and then we split the signal through a DI, the Avalon DI. I don't know, the Avalon something. Beautiful DI. But we split that signal, and that was like for me. But again, I've since gotten rid of the Ampeg and things like that. So, but this is great. What Adam does with these plugins, again, this was 10, 12 years ago. So now everything is in the box. It's a program, and they have these emulators, and they've captured it. It's as if you have whatever amp you want on your computer screen. So it's whatever,
Yeah, they'll take robots, and those robots will record like the different notes and how it comes through this amp, and whether you're playing with like intensity or whether you're playing softly. And it like they've got all these kind of ways that they've actually recorded these sounds, and so you could actually play through the same bass or the same drum kit, as your favorite artist. You just got to go track down the right plugins.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
What are y'all's goals for Invizij and closing out 2024, kind of gearing up and starting up 2025?
Yeah.
Even?
Yeah. I'll go for it. So we got the 2 singles out, which is great. But now we're really just trying to bunker down and bring something a little more cohesive together. Like I said, we've got a really good framework for the whole album, and we're just kind of filling in the blanks. So you're coming up on we're almost done with October, which is kind of wild. You get through these. It's really the holidays are just a whirlwind, right? You get Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, but it's a rejuvenating time though. You get to connect with family and kind of get your mind right and figure out what your focuses are going into a new year. And so I think spring, I think the beginning of 2025 is going to be very, very productive for us. We didn't put any deadlines on things, like I said. I think it would be great. We haven't officially decided, but I think probably one more single, just to tease the album, but have a couple more tracks in the pocket before we put a 3rd single out. It'd be great to do that by the end of the year. We're pretty close on a couple tracks that I think that's very realistic. But like I said, we're working with one of our really good friends, does a lot of the visual art, and for us, it's actually a big part of the project. And so we've been kind of working in the background with him on how to really make the visual art aspect an even greater component of the art and the presentation of things itself. So we're gonna try to put together some cool visual, kind of short animated things to go along with the music. Um, that's gonna help kind of tease out and display, the core vision of the project and the thematicism of the project. So from now to the end of the year, we'll get some more merch, we'll get some more art, and while we're kind of just teasing, playthroughs of little pieces of new stuff, we're gonna try to use that little lull, into the holidays, going into the new year, kind of get the steady stream going of just content and things that are, visually appealing and shed more light on what's already been out there. But going at beginning of 2025, I'm ready to just kind of jump right in and just write my heart out. For me, it's usually the time too. Like I said, you get out of the holidays, you feel rejuvenated. Winter's here. I'm up in the Northeast, man. It's cold and brutal, but there's something about that feeling. It's this dreary. It's dark at night. Early, and I do my best writing in the winter time. So I think being the New England area, for the winter, another New England winter, I got a good feeling. Dark boozy beers and moody lights, and I think the rest of Invizij, this first record, I think it's gonna take shape real quick when we turn the bend of the new year. I can feel it. I can feel it brewing. So I know it's a little ambiguous, but we kind of talked about earlier that kind of the fun of the project is kind of not being too structured, having too tight deadlines for everything. We got a loose agenda, like things we know we're going to accomplish. But yeah, we're gonna finish the album, man. We're gonna, I think early 2025. I feel good. I think we're gonna get.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get stuff close to a
Our
packaged
our
product.
biggest issue is we're not big social media guys. Like it's tough water. It's tough waters to navigate for us. So I know Steven, we share Google Docs with like a schedule, and we try to put some ideas together, and we kind of do it. It's tough. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the first thing about being a TikTok guy and a Instagram guy, and neither does he. So I'm sure you guys have run into this too. You said you have it for the podcast. It's not like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel fun to me. It's not rewarding to make a TikTok or something like that. But at the same time, I know nowadays it's something that you have to do if you want whatever your project, your creative outlet to be recognized by someone somewhere. It's part of the game. So
Yeah, it's a great outlet for just getting your name out there and putting yourself in front of people. I was, I had like a personal Facebook page for the longest time and just did that. But when Zoomy hit me up about starting this podcast, I was like, he started I think it was still Twitter at the time, and now it's X, but like, I was like, man, we really need to be on Facebook. There's all these groups and stuff. So I started a Facebook page for it. And I've made it like a little job, dude. I mean, every morning before I leave for work, I do what we call our like morning commute, where I find a new album that was released the previous Friday. I go online, I find everything I can. I try to make a list and put something out at least like every day. I do a TikTok and then some Facebook stuff. It is. I'm still learning. There's a huge learning curve with it. Like I don't know how people get super successful on there and all that, but I mean, it can be fun. It's kind of fun. It's another creative outlet. Essentially.
True.
So and using your own art too. That we're using other people's art for our art, so to speak. So it's using your own. There's probably even a cooler, better sense of pride in it, like in maybe satisfaction once you really get into it, just because I mean you're putting your stuff out there in front of other people. So you start seeing some reaction, you start getting some positive feedback, and it might lead to some even more creative spark. But
Drew, the feedback
is
the
process.
It's nice, great, it's huge. Yeah,
For sure. But yeah, we're trying to get out and do more stuff like this, man. I mean, getting on podcasts and chatting to you guys.
This is great.
It's super cool, and just through that process, it makes you think about different aspects of what you're doing and revisit, right? You ask a question like, wow, how did Invizij come to be? And then you have to ask yourself, well, yeah, oh yeah, we did come from that, or oh yeah, we did, this did inspire us, and then it evokes all these different thoughts, and it's good. It's a part of the process, and um, you just got to kind of get out there and do it, and that's really the only way, right?
Just do it.
It takes a life of its own. I feel that's like when you don't play for a while, and then you don't feel motivated, and then you play, and you're like, oh well, if you want to write music, like, well, you got to play, like, right? Like, you got to sit down and play, and we go through seasons, right? We have an ebb and flow of things,
Yeah.
but
For
a
sure.
big part is also part's holding yourself accountable too, right? Like, if you say you're gonna do something, then you do it. That is a big, actually, it's an initiative. It's something we've been working on. I've been in the side kind of working on my own video editing skills, so I can be more artistic and engaging with filming, like playthrough videos and other things. Um, and I think another big initiative when I'm in the depths of writing, coming in the beginning of 2025, documenting the process. It's like people are always fighting for content. Like, how do I make content? It's like, you're kind of making content all the time. But you have to capture it. It's like it
Yeah,
does. It exists.
exactly.
It's all around you. So that's something we've been a little resistant to, I guess, to this point. It's like giving into the social media thing. But
Yeah.
dude, we're in this environment where it's like, we all live in this world, man. I mean, we're gonna hang up this podcast, or what are you gonna do? You're gonna go scroll a reel, and you're gonna go right, like,
Yep.
it's the world. It's the world we live in. So we do have some initiatives for structured content, creation, and trying to find a healthy balance where you know we can manage it and keep the fun in it, have that structure, but not be overly burdensome with the process too. So
Yeah. It can become um, problematic, addicting, like, not gonna lie, you start seeing them likes coming in and follows, you're like, oh yeah, all right, how am I gonna get more of these, But
Yeah.
anyway, man, is there any chance we might anyone in the world might ever get to see you guys live? Do you ever consider doing like live sets or anything like that?
I
I
would
I would love to.
I know it's the exact response. So that's the same response. I knew we were gonna have the same response there. Uh, Dude, it's been so long since I've been on a stage. Really, um, I love being on stage. I love to play. I know Dan does too. He just went on tour this past summer with one of his one of the other groups he used to work with more frequently. And I'd love to play, man. I'd love to. I think Dan's, I think you're the connection guy on the show front
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
I am. So we got a couple seeds, I think, planted.
Yeah.
Obviously we need enough material
Need a
to be able to
drummer.
do that.
I don't
We
really
need a
want to
drummer.
play with a laptop. I don't know.
Yeah, we got people in the pocket for musicians. I
Yeah.
think we definitely have people that would be interested in partaking in
And they have
that.
the talent to
Got
do
a
it.
couple people we could call up and
Yeah.
get in on a live show. I mean, right now it's a duo. It is this very artistic thing that we're just collaborating on. But I would
Yeah.
love to see it have a life and see some live shows. So 2025 maybe, I don't know. But certainly, once we've got the album out and we've kind of settled into it, it's a
I'd
goal
love to promote
to
an
be out
album
playing.
by touring.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Yeah.
So it's in the plans. We love to make it work.
Cool.
The details we don't have it. We don't have a tour. I wish I could give you dates right now and say, hey, come
Sure.
see us, so and so.
Down the
cool.
road, right?
Yeah, but that's a goal. That's the goal. We'd love to play this stuff live. We'd love to.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, just kind of a non-music related question. Zoomy likes to do these a lot, but I thought of one, Zoomy. I'm gonna beat you to it today.
What are you
Uh,
doing, man? You're throwing me off.
yeah, I know. So you guys both mentioned, you have other things going on too, right? So like something I don't think we've ever asked anybody this, and you don't have to answer if you don't want, but I'm just curious. What do you guys do? Like, what's your day job? What do you guys do outside of music?
sure,
Yeah,
I
we
kicked
could do
that
it.
off too. Yeah. So I'm actually a finance director for a I'll say a consumer tech startup company. So I talked about being in a band and going through this transition with professional careers. So I took a big chunk of my life to become a CPA and go through all the certifications to be a certified public accountant. So I spent like 7 years in public accounting and just grinding it out and getting all my certifications and getting it, robust basis for my professional career. So right now I'm helping scale up a business and yeah, dude, build out the systems, get things rolling. So it's been a fun gig. I'm like 6-7 months into a new gig, making that happen. So I'm in like crazy startup finance operations land. So that's my gig right now. So,
All right, good for
fun
you.
stuff. Exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a split between two things here. So right now, one of the gigs is there's crews that go out for storage units after natural disasters all over the country, and I coordinate basically the back end clerical stuff for all these groups and that go out and clean the places out. It's a really crazy gig. I won't explain how I got into that, but that's one of my gigs. And then I just actually got certified in the state of Texas to sell life insurance and health insurance. So I'm going to start doing that as well. I'm with a broker right now, getting started for open enrollment. If anybody needs insurance, let me know. But no,
Everybody
Awesome.
needs it.
yeah, that's my
Everybody needs insurance.
Hey,
Exactly.
I spent some time in Arizona, and I was certified there for selling health insurance. I worked for Aflac for like
Oh, you
3
did?
months.
Nice.
Didn't make a dime for 3 months. This is 100% commission based. So left
Yeah.
that and got into like mold and asbestos remediation work. I went back to my roots, labor. So my hat's off to you, man. It's if depending on the gig you get, if it's commission based or salary, if the
Yeah.
commission stuff's tough.
Commission's tough. I mean, I was a real estate agent for a couple of years down here too, and luckily I was pretty successful with it, but it was a struggle talking to other people who were $0 months because it's all commission, and it's just consecutive $0 months, especially with a weird market. I was doing it back when COVID was hitting, so it was strange, but commission-based
Yeah.
gigs really show you what you're made of. Every morning you get up and you're like, what can I do today? Oh my God, I'm in charge of it all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Sorry to take us off track, but I think it'd be fun to learn what some of these musicians do during
Oh,
the
yeah.
day.
No, it's cool. You get when you get those stories, especially think about like I don't know if you guys are familiar, like Cloud Kicker, super like it's kind of a similar territory. It's like instrumental prog metal. It's like his day job is like he's a pilot, and then like, but one of his albums, like all the names of the tracks are like famous last words of pilots before they went down, in flight, before they. And I'm like,
Oh
oh, that's
shit.
like that brings such a cool thing. Or like I think Pliny, like he's like an architect or something, and you're like, it creates this different character, this persona. You're like, well, that actually kind of makes sense. Like, makes sense. It's like that you see the nature of the people and the way they operate, and
Yeah, like
it's
forms our creative palette in a way. It gives us, I don't know, influence because it's what we're just so exposed to, what we do every day. And the honest truth is, very rare do you come across any metal musicians that say, "Oh, this is what I do for a living."
Especially nowadays.
yeah.
Like, I mean, everybody's got, a job that they're working, and even touring musicians seem to always have something that they're always falling back on whenever they're not out on the road. So,
Yeah, metal music doesn't pay the bills for most.
nah,
Yeah, there's a lucky few out there.
that's right. You got a handful of them, but the
Yeah.
rest of them, and some of them that I know do make money, I wonder, like, for how long,
Yeah.
because you got to stay relevant. It's crazy how quickly you can become, yesterday's news.
Yeah.
Yeah, being an artist is tough, man. If you really,
Yeah.
people are out there living like true. Some people they're cut out for it, man. They live the starving artist life, and they can do that. And
There's
Man,
people who
it's
thrive in that too. That starving artist, they make it. They love it. It's difficult.
It brings out the best in them, right?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
You know, I remember hearing this isn't really starving artist. This is more like insane drug addict. But this one guy, he was,
many times our package deal.
yeah, true. But there's this one guy. I won't mention it, but very well-known band actually, and he was a ex-guitar player of it. And his story was, "Hey man, my favorite thing to do is I stay up for 48 hours straight, and I do a meth the entire time. And right before you get tired enough to where you just pass out, that's when the sweet spot hits, and you just start writing. 48 hours on meth up." And just right before your body gives out and you have to get some sleep, you write albums. And he was like, that's how I do it. I don't do it any other way. I don't sit down with my guitar sober in the morning with coffee. I don't do it. Because I just die for 2 days and then I write the best shit ever. So, you know, and I'm sure that's not the only guy out there who does something wild like that. But, you know.
Whatever works
we
for him.
We talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about that recently. You know, it's funny how like adversity and it's like that's when a lot of the best art happens, right? It's when people are facing adversity and you've, I don't know, it's like it triggers something in your brain where, I don't know, this other outlet, you know, a switch turns on or something.
What do they call it? They say smooth seas never made a skilled sailor, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Adversity, man, does something.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. We all like to live on top of the mountain, but we don't learn on top of the mountain.
Exactly.
So we grow and we develop and we come better through, you know, struggle and challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us even prefer to have at least some sort of challenge in their life anyway, right?
I like adversity, loss, and these things, and you can recognize them in other people as well. I'm sure we've all come across a person who, for me, they come off almost one-dimensional or boring because I feel like you could tell that they haven't experienced adversity or loss in some way or something like that. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but you know, we all think that when we come across people like that, they're kind of like a wet paper bag. You know, have you experienced stuff? Have you lived? Have you gone through something? And it's a huge part of just being I'm going off here, but just being a human, you know. And then when it translates into music, that's pretty cool. So.
All right, so I'm doing some rough math here, Dan. So if we've got 8 more songs to finish, and each song we need 40 hours of meth use, and no, I'm just. How much meth would we have to do to finish the album?
All right, and now based on the, I need to know the fair value of the, you know, the market price now, and then. What that's going to equate.
How much money we got to bank away?
Yeah, annually. You know, we need probably a pro forma. You know, some sort of pro forma
I'm working
statement.
up a budget as we speak. And so, you know, sometimes our skills that we acquire outside of music, you know, can really benefit us here.
When it comes to this math stuff, Zoomy, I can't tell you enough how good it is to have a CPA in the band. I love it.
That's right.
So good.
Right, man.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Here we go.
Well, are we ready to play a song, Brandon?
I was gonna say on that note, I think it's time we blast some tunes. So Zoomy, what do you have for us?
I think, you know, we were gonna do the Clandestine Dance of Power.
Run it. Rip it.
Run it.
Right, everybody. Enjoy. right. That was an awesome, awesome song, man. You know, we can't get enough of the music, guys. We're going to be really, really excited to see another track. Super pumped to hear you guys got some new stuff that you're working on. I do have a couple of real quick questions, and they are super, super fast. I know we're running late. We've already been going almost an hour and a half, so we'll try to wrap it up. I know everybody's got to get ready for the next day, right? But, Steven,
Yes.
the cream pie or the clam chowder?
This is gonna piss off. I'm a New Englander. I'm gonna piss a lot of people off. It's gonna be the cream pie, man. I don't get down with the clam chowder. I'm sorry.
The cream pie, man.
I'm
That's
sorry
good.
to all my New Englanders. I don't get down with the clam chowder. I'm sorry.
Sticking true with the Boston cream pie. Loving
Yeah.
it.
It's a
Loving
controversial
it, sir.
topic
Well,
here.
we're talking about food. Oh shit. Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, you know, I always just throw a few other little ones, you know, a little fun.
Okay.
Dan, so when it comes to chili, beans or no beans?
Man, I had beans in it growing up. I mean, I don't know.
Most of them Texans don't put beans in their chili.
Down here, I'm gonna get shit for it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We-
Brandon,
we-
you're in Houston, right?
I am in Houston. I'm not from here, but I'm here, and I do beans in my chili.
Yeah, same here, man. I like a good kidney bean in there.
All
Yeah.
right. We
Mhm.
got beans in our two Texas boys here with beans in their chili.
That's what's up.
Yep.
Highly controversial stuff here, guys.
Yes.
Very.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's really all I got, guys. Thank you so much for
Thank you. Yeah.
just hanging with us tonight, taking a second and talking with us, letting us know what you guys got going on. We're loving the music. We love what you're putting out. We can't wait to hear more material. And we want people out there who are taking a second to watch the show, listen to it, however you're, checking this out, to just go listen to the band and let us know what you think. Let's talk about it some more and let them know what you think. Get with them. Start following them on Spotify and plug them into your favorites and put them in shuffle and watch out for that new music to come out.
Hey, I'll say this too, Zoomy. I'll keep an eye on the release on YouTube, and I'll be in the comments if anybody has direct questions or anything like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys.
Same. Well, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you,
Honestly,
guys.
it was super cool connecting with you guys.
Absolutely.
Very interesting conversation, and giving us a platform. It's
Really
huge for
appreciate
us,
it.
man. Yeah.
Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Oh yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing you guys put some stuff out, this next round and coming back on the show.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Really enjoying the tunes. And Dan, maybe I'll run into you at another show.
Yes. Scout Bar.
Yeah, I'll be
That's
at.
the one.
I know I'll be at Cytotoxin on the 21st. So I don't know if you're planning on going to that
Cytotoxin?
one. Yeah.
No. Okay. Did you guys
That's
like
gonna be a
Signs of
good
the
one.
Swarm? What did you think of that show?
I thought it was a good show.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good show. What I like is what Scout Bar, how they can make a band sound really good, and I don't mean like better than their album or better than the band was ever meant to sound. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you're going to a venue where you're actually able to hear the band, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that coming from Scout Bar.
Yeah.
So many venues you go to and the sound you just don't get great stuff,
Mhm.
but Scout that was my first time there, and I was really happy that I could listen and enjoy all of the bands that
Yeah.
played.
That was good. Good show.
For sure. All right, well, that's all we got. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. Check us out. Listen to Invizij. Go listen to their two new singles that they got out, or the newest one, but they've got two out. And until next time, Metal Block over and out.
Peace out.